Welcome to Better Odds Sports Betting. Here's our hosts, Kiev O'Neill and Kyle Hunter.
Welcome back to Better Odds Sports Betting. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill, and my partner in crime is back, Mr. Kyle Hunter Picks. How you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing well, man. How about you?
Doing awesome. It's a fun holiday coming up here. Having kids, it really just makes holidays actually fun again in a way. I got all these costumes going on, and we're actually going to dress up as Scooby-Doo this year. I'm going to be Fred. Of course,
Nice.
I the fun Scooby or Shaggy or nothing like that. That's got to go to the kids. But I'm going to see if I can pull Fred off and be a stiff for a while.
Nice. I like it. I was just battling with my daughter to take off her Elsa costume before it gets torn up before trick or treat. So definitely that time of the year.
Certainly is, man. But fun doesn't stop for us because massive games are coming up this weekend, and we're going to try to scare the bookies today. Okay, we'll try to scare them with some of our discussions here and see how far we can get, man. Let's get right into it then. Patrick Backus actually had a request on this game, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's Missouri versus South Carolina. I believe that it's getting down to 3.5 here. I'm going to pull up the odds on this game. Yeah, -3.5 Missouri at home. The total is now down to 46. So Patrick said that he got under 47.5 on this total. So why don't you start out on this game, Kyle?
Sure. Yeah. I think I like the under here. So I like his play. Obviously, the line's moving in that direction. I think that Missouri has been sneaky good on defense. This is a team that nobody really expected to be good on defense, but consistently they've been overachieving defensively. If you kind of look at what they've been doing, they're 13th in success rate allowed on defense. Really impressive. Number 2 in defensive line yards. They've only given up 13 plays of 30 yards or more so far this year. So Missouri's defense has been the story for me. South Carolina defensively was really banged up earlier this year. They had a lot of guys out that were key guys. They have been better their last few games. Not saying they're a really good defense, but they're up against Missouri offense that really isn't very good. Cook is not a downfield passer. Missouri tries to move the ball slowly down the field. We have two teams that play really slowly. I think this is a Missouri team that people thought would play quicker than they are. And in conference play, they've played quite a bit slower than they did even in the regular non-conference section. So my favorite play here is the under. As far as the side, what is this one, Kiev? 3.5?
3.5, man. 3.5 shown on DraftKings and most of the other books out there. You can actually look at the money. It's probably a little bit short towards the sharp side, which is Missouri, +5.5 down to +3.5, 70% of tickets, 92% of the money here. That's a sharp side for sure.
I don't know if I like Missouri at this price. I understand taking it at 5.5. South Carolina wins games with special teams a lot. You got Beamer there coaching. You never know what's going to happen special teams wise. I think I just have the slightest leans to South Carolina. I definitely like the under the best of anything in this game. I think this will be a tight game. Patrick, I think you got a good play there on the under.
I like the play, Patrick. I think it's fantastic. I wouldn't even think about buying back on it. So what's funny about Missouri is I can't believe that they're ranked 13th in defensive success rate, 10th in rushing play success rate, 26th in passing play. Hey, Kyle, before the season started, did you think that we were going to talk about Missouri's defense?
Absolutely not.
It's been their crutch for so long. And what's funny is that the script flipped a little bit here. Their offensive success rate's only 110th. Here's what my thoughts. And I don't like to go against sharp sides, but I kind of like South Carolina. And the reason that is because, I look at strength of schedule and it shows pretty equal on Sagarin and many of the other locations. But what worries me is there's one game that Missouri's getting a lot of credit for their strength of schedule, and that's Georgia. And it probably should get credit for it. But I also have to ask myself, was this more of like a flat spot for Georgia here? I looked at the yards, and Georgia outgained them by a ton. It was a home game. And then Georgia kind of the next week just against Kent State only wins by what point, like 19 points, 18 points, 17 points. It looks like that was actually the week before. So it's almost like they're kind of flat during here. So I'm looking at strength of schedule. It almost seems like if you take out the Georgia game, it's very easy for them. And then South Carolina, they came off the bye and beat Texas A&M. Now this score was probably a little bit misleading here, but quarterback wise, I have to go with Spencer Rattler here. He's got a lot of experience, and Missouri is still somewhat Missouri with those mistakes. I mean, this line, if you're going to give a full 3-point advantage to South Carolina, it only says that they're a half point better than Missouri, Kyle. So I disagree with that a little bit.
Yeah, that would be my lean certainly as well. Like I said, the under my favorite play, thinking that both teams go really slowly. But I think kind of a contrarian thought at this point is taking South Carolina, and that would be my lean too.
Yeah, and tempo 78th for South Carolina and tempo 79th for Missouri. So that definitely shows towards the under. Let's get into the next game then. And I'm sure Kyle's going to be quite interested in this one. Ohio State goes to Penn State, and this is a fun game. Probably for me, it's the biggest game of the weekend, Kyle, being a Big Ten fan. The total came out at 61. It's down to 60.5. And the spread actually went down a little bit. It was 15. I was really wondering earlier this week which direction the spread was going to go, Kyle. It's coming towards the 14. Now, my power rating on this game is almost a perfect 14. This total makes me worry a little bit, almost for the Penn State side. Ohio State's defense is actually legit this year, in my opinion. They've only allowed 21 points, I think, max to any team. And it's almost like some of those times that they allowed a few extra points was in garbage time against Wisconsin and a few other teams. When I look at Ohio State metrically, they can just run the ball right up Penn State's throat. When I came into this, before I even looked at the advanced metrics, I thought to myself I was going to be betting Penn State. But after I kind of broke down the game a little bit, Kyle, I started leaning more towards Ohio State. Ohio State has moved to number 1 in my power ratings, and that's because of their defense and all the talent they have on offense. It doesn't show all the time, but they pretty much do what they want against teams. My problem with Penn State, offensive rushing play success rate 112. That's not going to do well. Well, Ohio State's defensive rushing success rate is 3rd. Their pass isn't that great. 52nd is what they rank. Defense, they're good in the secondary, and I suppose if Penn State's going to find success, it is the secondary, but they're also only 63rd in defensive rushing success rate, which is not even close to matching up against a big team like Ohio State. I am a little concerned with Penn State. I think this total is low because it says that Penn State might not score a lot. I'm almost looking at Ohio State's team total over 38. So I think I might go in that direction, Kyle. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, this is a tough one for me because I try to stay completely neutral on Ohio State. And if anything, I'm usually trying to be pessimistic just so I don't get my hopes up too much. I think you probably know that feeling. These people start saying Ohio State's the favorite to win it all. I get super uncomfortable about that. I don't even know that that's the case. But, this is an Ohio State team that I guess Kiev, I'll play devil's advocate here a little bit. And I hate to do this because I don't want to. But the question is, who has Ohio State played that has a good offense so far? I'm not saying Penn State's a good offense, but you look down the schedule and I'm like, I don't think I can really argue anybody's a good offense that they played. Wisconsin can run. Toledo's a good offense for a MAC team, but in general, they haven't really played a good offense yet. So while I think their defense is much improved, I don't know if they're quite as good as some people think they are right now.
You don't think Iowa's offense is good, Kyle, last week?
Oh, gosh. Painful. That's so painful. The guy next to me was like, I think Iowa should just punt on like 2nd down or something. I was like,
that's what I used to say myself.
I've heard worse ideas, with that team. But, really, Iowa's defense did give Ohio State's offense some trouble for a good while. I feel bad for Iowa's defense. That's a really good defense, certainly. Penn State has played Ohio State tough. I think if you look back the last few years, they've done a good job covering numbers. They won that game in Happy Valley. I went to that game, unfortunately. Of course, that's the one game that they lost to Penn State here in the last 10. But Penn State's played a lot of close games against them. I think Penn State's defense is very good against the pass. So the question is, how much do we think Ohio State's going to run for against them? I don't think this is one where Stroud has a massive game. I think it could be a Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams type of game. They are capable of running for a lot of yards. Michigan did it to them. On a total, probably think over would be my bet if I had to bet something. I think Sean Clifford's capable of making those big plays. You see that Penn State's a top 15 team in explosiveness on offense. They're just not good. So they get, stuffed at the line multiple times, and then they bust a 50-yard play. Sean Clifford has done this before against Ohio State, and I always get frustrated. It's like, how is this guy getting like 40-yard runs? But he does it. I think he'll probably find a way to do it some here. Kind of hoping this is just me being a pessimistic fan, but if I had to bet this, I would bet Penn State plus the points. I do think Ohio State will win, and I think Penn State plus the points is my lean and over my other lean.
Yeah, Penn State's schedule not the greatest, minus Michigan, but they got blown out. So what does that tell you? Purdue, I guess that first game, I almost thought Purdue outplayed them that first game, and I thought Purdue just kind of choked it away. They should have won that game. I do like the prowess of Clifford. I think can be a winner, and Franklin, how motivated he gets his team going. But I don't know how good Ohio State really can be because they're blowing out everybody. It's almost like they haven't had to put it in overdrive yet. So it's going to be a fun game to watch. I guess for my Ohio State plus 600 to win it all ticket, I kind of want to blow out, but I wouldn't mind watching a close game either. So we'll see how this one turns out. I'm still going to lean to the team total over. Kyle, let's move on to the next game. You picked this one, I believe. The Wake Forest is hosting it's Louisville, right? Is Louisville versus Wake Forest.
Yeah, Wake Forest on the road at Louisville here in this one. Is the current line still 3.5 on this one? Maybe you can pull that up while I'm talking here.
Right now it is 3 minus 115, and the total is 64.5.
3 minus 115. I got to tell you, Kiev, I'm a bit nervous about this one because the line move is just confusing me a lot. Why does somebody really want Louisville in this game? Hopefully, don't want to have a situation where it was like Utah last night, where all at once Cam Rising isn't playing. I didn't bet that game, but I got to tell you, that's pretty bad, man. You don't know going into the game. That's the same way it was last weekend with like Northern Illinois. Rocky Lombardi doesn't play at the last second. I'm really hoping we don't have some kind of weird situation going on that a few people know about. I think as betting becomes more mainstream, I think we have to do something about the fact that all at once you just find out, 5 seconds before the game that there's a star quarterback not playing. Because, it completely changes the handicap, obviously. But I'll get off my soapbox here and say that I think Wake Forest would be the play that I like in this one. I'm going to put some of my own money on this. Not a big bet of mine, but I do like Wake Forest here. Louisville's a team I was high on in the preseason, and I was wrong. This is a team that I thought was going to be good. I believe I have over 5.5 on a win total. So maybe I'm just, hedging in my mind, hoping that I either win Wake Forest or Louisville wins to get closer to that season win total over. But this is a Louisville team that has really been disappointing to me. They're 122nd at PFF in tackling grade. Terrible. They have a really bad secondary. They rely on getting to the quarterback. And I think Wake Forest gets rid of the ball quick enough that Clausen will have a good offensive scheme for this. Louisville's negative 0.62 yards per play margin in ACC play. The Cardinals have kind of been about the wildest team you could get, right? There's some teams with massive variance, some teams that you pretty much know what you're going to get from them. Louisville lost to Boston College. That's pretty inexcusable this year. At the same time, Louisville has a couple good wins. UCF is a pretty good win. This is a team that you don't exactly know what you're going to get. The thing that stands out to me, Kiev, is their red zone regression on defense. A weak defense overall, but once opponents get into the red zone and they're tremendous. I don't like teams like that because I don't think that's sustainable long term. 17 of 25 trips into the red zone for opponents, they've even scored a point. So they forced turnovers or stopped them on downs. In 8 of those 25 trips, they've only allowed a touchdown on 12 out of 25. I don't think a bad defense can keep being so good in the red zone. So I think Wake Forest is going to get their points here. Malik Cunningham's a really good player, but I think they rely on him to do too much. I like Wake Forest in this one. So what do you think about this one?
Yeah, interesting handicap. And I agree with all your points. It's getting to the point where I almost have to maybe feel forced to bet Wake Forest. You know, they're going to try to make a run. They got that one loss. And I, unfortunately, am on the under Wake Forest when the quarterback news was out. I didn't get back to the window on time to get back on the over. Here's the thing. I said in the beginning of the season when Louisville scored 6 points against Syracuse, I think both of us were on the team total over or something like that. Malik Cunningham, their quarterback, has so much high variance to me. I feel like he can be great and push teams. I feel like he can be terrible and lose to bad teams, just like you saw against Boston College. Boston College is putrid. You know, this is a bad team. And I'm wondering why we're seeing some money come in against Wake Forest here. It's very strange to me. It's a little bit of a sharp side. I want to show you here. 44% of the money on Louisville, 58% of the money, 44% of the tickets. You know, and this thing's kind of crawling down from 5 down to 3.5. I disagree with that, but I also know Wake Forest has that really bad defense. Well, they have in the past anyway. I think it might be a little bit better this year, Kyle, but does that mean on the road they're just going to let Louisville score at will as well? It almost makes me look towards the over, Kyle.
I can't blame you on the over. I do think they're better defensively. Lambert, the new defensive coordinator, is an upgrade over what they've had. Still, having said that, I would think there'd be a lot of explosive plays in this one. This could be one of those back and forth shootout type games. Like I said, I still think that it's a bit odd that Louisville's getting so much support. Not a big bet for me, but I have to take Wake Forest for something here.
Yeah, 100%. I don't disagree with that. I might be on the same side as you. Kyle is giving out Wake Forest at the -3, -115. So no disagreement on my side here. Let's move on to very big game. Obviously, Georgia looking really good so far to be in the college football playoff, yet they still haven't played Tennessee, and they have to get to their SEC championship game. That's going to tell you which one's going to the SEC championship game, Tennessee versus Georgia. But Georgia's got Florida in the way. And this is a big spread. It's like 22.5. Biggest cocktail party in the world, it's called, right? So I'm curious to see if Florida can do something this year. This spread is massive, but just starting out with my handicap, this total is a little bit low. And the reason I think it is because of the weather. Now, the problem with that is I don't think weather is going to stop Georgia's run game, and Florida has been absolutely terrible against the run. So this total is at 56.5. Florida's defensive success rate ranks in the 100s, and I'm just pulling up that info right now. 107th on rushing play success rate, 107th on passing play success rate. Georgia averages 42 points per game, and their team total should be around 39 because of this. If you're worried that Florida's not going to score, this Georgia team total looks very tempting. It's on a neutral field, and they should be able to score against a below average defense, especially when it's this low. This is also the game that Georgia wants to put their foot down to show you how much of the contender. Nobody's talking about Georgia right now. Everybody's talking about Tennessee. Everybody's talking about Ohio State. Everybody's talking about Bama even a little bit, even with that one loss. But Georgia's kind of just sneaking in there, and this is where they can kind of show everybody who they are. I got to tell you, that Oregon game, they scored at will against Oregon, and Oregon's doesn't necessarily have the greatest defense either. But I have to even say that Florida's is worse than them, and this is on a neutral field as well. I like the over 56.5, but I also like Georgia's team total over 39, Kyle.
I have to agree with you here. Usually Kiev and I agree more often than we disagree. I like the over here. I think this is a game where Georgia scores a lot of points. The question mark is how much does Florida score if they get behind by a decent amount? We've seen them before. Remember the Tennessee game when they come and they finally start putting up a bunch of points. Anthony Richardson puts up some big stat padding late in the game. They get a lot of points. I think that's possible. I'm not saying they'll score a lot of points here, but I think they can score when they get behind. I like Georgia's team total better than Florida's, certainly. I don't want to lay points 22.5 in a game like this. I'd rather bet the total. And I think the thing that we can be most confident of is Georgia's offense having success here, like you said. If you look at Florida's defense, I didn't really think they'd be really good right away, but I definitely thought they'd be better than this. Tony's a good defensive coordinator, and I still think they'll probably get it right long term. I think Napier's a good coach too. But I'm showing them 122nd in total EPA against the run, 170th, 170th would be something. So there's not many teams. They're not that bad, but they're 107th in rushing play success rate allowed. They're also 107th in passing play success rate allowed. So really, they're just consistently bad. There's not one area that you can attack. You can go whichever way you want. That's a sign of a pretty bad defense. I think that Georgia, with Bowers and their rushing attack, I think they can have a big game here offensively. Now, what does Florida do on offense? They rely really heavily on those big explosive plays, the really big plays. I think they can get some of them in a game like this because while Georgia's defense is very good, they're certainly not last year's Georgia defense. Nobody is. I don't see Florida stops coming here very often at all. I think the Gators get some of those chunk plays to help us get to the over. So I think this is going to be one of those pizza money bets on the over for me because watching this game, I'd like to have something to root for. Wish it was 56, 56 being a key number, but I don't really think it's going to come down at this point. Do you, Kiev? I think this probably is about where it's going to stay.
No, it's going to stay there, and it's supposed to rain a little bit, not too windy. Now, just even looking at Georgia, what's funny and really quiet about them, they're number 2 in EPA margin, and on offensive EPA, they're 5th. I mean, Georgia's stacked on really both sides of the ball. But what's going to happen is they're going to have their second, third string in if this is a blowout. And by the way, my number is 24 in this. My power rating is Georgia minus 24, and that's where you're going to get Richardson scoring those rushing touchdowns. It's a massive. Don't get me wrong. This is a massive game for Billy Napier. Massive game for Richardson too. So I think they're going to get at least 17 to 20 points here. But just the fact that Georgia is, this total is so low in this big of a game, I definitely have to go towards the over here. So I'll probably be playing both. So great stuff, man. Let's move on to the NFL, Kyle. And there is a massive game on Sunday night. Well, it was massive before the season started anyway. We have the Green Bay Packers versus the Buffalo Bills. And I know it's Halloween and everything, Kyle, but I put this Bills background here to scare the daylights out of my rival Green Bay Packers, being a Bear fan, because this is a big spread at minus 11, and the total of this game is at 47 points. I mean, that tells you, with the way the Packers offense have been, that tells you that the Bills might be able to score at will here. So I have the Bills just way above everybody else. It's tough. When I do all my advanced metrics and I do my rankings, it's like the Bills up here, then, Chiefs, Ravens, those types of teams, right? Kind of just all bunched up. Bengals are in there. But it's just the Bills are that much ahead of everybody else, and that's why you see a big spread like this. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of hoping that there's a contrarian type side that likes to bet big dogs with big names, and this thing gets to 10. But I'm not sure if I can stop myself betting this, being that my number is 14. So I like the Bills. I'm waiting on to bet it. What are your thoughts on this one?
All right. So, I like to talk about angles sometimes and systems that have worked in the long run. And I'm going to say that I'm not going to bet the Packers no matter what. Even though this angle is going to tell me that this is a good bet. You're taking a bad ATS team against a good ATS team from week 6 on in the NFL. That means the team that you're going against has an ATS win percentage of 51% or higher, and the team that you're betting on is 32% or lower. So they've been burning money throughout the year. You bet on the bad team. That would be betting on the Packers in this one. And it's 191 and 123. That's 61% against the spread going back to 2006. Kiev, I know there's going to be some people taking the Packers because of things like that. They've been so bad that people are starting to wonder if they get undervalued. I think it's really hard to downgrade the Packers enough right now. I just, the way they've been losing these games, it's not been fluky. I don't feel like they've, tripped up and, they had massive turnover differential or something. I really just don't think that they're very good. And the Bills, what else can you say? Like you said, I get a little bit frustrated when I see some of these articles that say something like, hey, the Eagles, the unbeaten Eagles, they have an easy path to the Super Bowl. It's like, they're not even the best team in the NFL. The Eagles are having a fun season, but, the Bills are the team to beat, certainly. I think that in a game like this, despite, knowing the angles are what they are, and this is a high number, I would bet the Bills if I had to bet a side here. Now, as far as a total, I think that's a bit tricky, and I want to get your input on this one here real quick too. I assume that the Bills will score quite a few points here. Now, I assume we could probably see what a Bills team total is right now, but I think maybe Bills team total over would probably be my favorite bet in this game, thinking that, this is a Bills team that probably would like to make a statement in a game like this. I don't think this is a game that they overlook. You're up against Aaron Rodgers in prime time. I think the Bills score a lot of points here. Allen and that explosive offense. The Green Bay defense has been very overrated this year. So despite knowing that, the angles are going to tell you there's value on the Packers, I can't take the Packers. Definitely lean Bills and their team total over.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that at all. Now, my metric total on it from an efficiency standpoint is 44 points, but it also that just speaks to how my spread is high, and it speaks to how bad the Packers have been. If you want to look at their EPA here, I have the numbers. On offense, the Bills are number 2 in EPA, right next to the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs snuck ahead of them after that big 49ers victory last week. That was absolutely insane. Packers on offensive EPA, 21st. That's pretty low. The Packers are definitely showing us, but heck, the Bears are over them. How does that look? Jeez, that's a little embarrassing. Now, if you're looking on defensive EPA here, and I love this site, has great charts and everything. Bills number 3, and this is why the Bills are number 1 team. They're number 2 and number 3. EPA margin that puts them easily at number 1. Because the Chiefs are number 23 in defensive EPA, but the Packers, sitting there number 17 in defensive EPA. But I almost think that their defensive EPA is only 17th because of how slow they play. That's another worry. If somehow they can control a little bit of pace here, you're worried about this total, going over. I think that maybe that's why my number's at 44 for this total. Do I want to bet it? Not necessarily, because of some of the stuff you said, Kyle. Bills coming off a bye. Bills definitely got healthier. I still kind of wonder how their secondary is, because their secondary was banged up, but everything kind of, coming off the bye. This is definitely a buy on for big teams, especially when they want to make a statement here. The Bills are getting a few guys coming off injury reserve as well. So I, in my opinion, think that this should be easily coverable. No opinion on the total, though, Kyle.
Yeah, I want to address the comment here that Jason had. I think it was interesting. Wonder if Rodgers has ever been on the other end of a spread like this. So I went back in BetLab's database and was looking at what's the biggest underdog that Rodgers has ever been. 7.5 points, the biggest underdog Aaron Rodgers has been. So that's pretty fun. Actually, as an underdog, only of even 4 points or more. 7-7 against the spread all time. So he's only 14 times ever even been a 4-point dog or larger. So fantastic point. I mean, this never happens. Rodgers has been a really good ATS quarterback. In fact, if you just go back, he's 121 and 88. So 58%, but he's kind of I don't know, I guess you'd say front runner a bit. His team, when they're bigger favorites, they've covered better than when it's close to the spread or as an underdog. So we'll see what happens, but that is a fantastic point. Aaron Rodgers has never been in this territory before.
Well, and we were talking about Matt LaFleur was 10-1 after a loss against the spread. Now he's 10-2 because obviously that trend didn't go through a couple of weeks ago. But still, now he's 10-2 against the
Right.
spread after a loss. So if you want to put in trends, you can. I can just look at overall power of the team, and there's just no good playmakers right now for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers does not trust his receivers, and with good reason. These receivers kind of look like where they came from, smaller teams. One of their guys came from a Division II squad in North Dakota State. I just have to think that the spot favors the Bills, I suppose, but at the same time, the Packers they're in a big important win spot, like a get up spot. It's just my numbers favor the Bills so much so that I didn't bet it, and that's why I'm really hoping for a 10. But we'll see what happens. I have some friends going to this game, and this is going to be a big one. Let's move on to the Monday night game, Kyle. And you might know a little bit about these teams. You have the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns. This spread is at 3 flat here, and the total is at 45. Kyle, some big news came in on the Bengals yesterday, moving this line. What do you know about it?
Yeah, Jamar Chase being out hurts them a lot, certainly. He's the most dynamic of their wide receivers. I will say that some people, I have quite a few Bengals friends, a lot of people that are big Bengals fans. And one of them texted me and said, well, here goes our season. We're going to be 6-11 or something like that. It's like, oh, that's terribly pessimistic for a team that still has T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Hayden Hurst has done a good job at tight end as well. As long as Burrow keeps playing the way he's been playing, they always have a chance. I think in this one, the key is, can Cincinnati get enough stops against the run? Nick Chubb's going to be running the football a lot in this one. The Bengals without DJ Reader hurts them a lot against the run. Now, I have to tell you, being at the game the other day, I couldn't believe the Falcons, when they were down so much, Marcus Mariota throws 13 passes when they're way behind. Like, what are they even doing? I don't even know why they drafted a wide receiver right away if they're not going to throw the ball. I mean, it's just strange stuff. I can't imagine being in the script that they were in and still ending up with only 13 passes. Cleveland, Brissett, he looked pretty good at the beginning of the year. I think that's kind of tailed off, right? And then I think the Cleveland defense has been kind of disappointing overall. I expected them to be better than 20th in yards per play allowed at this point. I still think the Bengals can move the ball here. I haven't seen an update. Kiev, you can ping me if you know something different. But Denzel Ward, I don't know, is he playing in this game or not? Because
questionable. Let's just see if there was an update on Ward here. Still questionable. Concussion protocols. Still hasn't practiced. Yeah. Not there, but they have two other cornerbacks that are also questionable, and Greedy Williams. Did Greedy even play yet this year? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Denzel Ward to me is the best cornerback in the AFC North, probably. Awuzie is a good one as well, but Denzel Ward has given Burrow a lot of trouble in the past, and I think if Denzel Ward doesn't play, this is probably a good over. So that would be my lean in this game, would be over 45. I do want to say to keep an eye on the weather here, because I know that there is some chance of rain Monday night, a little bit of wind. That's Halloween night. I know, of course, it's trick or treat here. I'd rather have rain a different night, certainly. And Bill Vinovich is the official in this one, 82 and 57 under. So we're kind of going against the best under crew. I started to say I kind of wish we had Jerome Boger's crew, but man, it's hard to even watch that crew, right? I mean, like, even if you're rooting for an over, it's kind of frustrating. So
I mean, now that Carranti's gone, everyone's looking at Boger now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so bad. So many missed calls that are just, even if you're on the right side of it, it's like, man, I can't believe that. But -3, I think, is a fair line at this point. I don't really have a lean on the side, so I don't know, maybe you do. I like the over some in this one. I think 45 is a fair number to take the over, even though he has been an under official. I don't want to just blindly bet something like that.
Yeah, no disagreement there, especially if the cornerbacks are out. The over could hit pretty easily with these types of teams. But one thing I will say, the Browns are 2-5. They started out pretty good. Their strength of schedule was really bad, and they should have won against the Chargers. They can't believe he threw that interception there, Jacoby Brissett, at the very end of that game. Blows my mind. I thought that was a touchdown easy, but I think they could have kicked the field goal to win the game too. It's like you're down 2 and then you throw an interception. A couple minutes left. That was absolutely ridiculous. I thought that should have been a win. But, desperate spot for the Cleveland. They have to win, and they're trying to get, somewhat respectable before Deshaun Watson's going to play. Probably only in 3 or 4 games here coming up here. It's going to sneak up on people. But I think the Jamar Chase injury is big. And it was so big, as soon as I got the message across Twitter, which I do get notifications, I did put a play on the Cleveland at +3.5, and I got the flat 110. And then about 2 minutes later, it's down to 3. So that's how quickly these things move. And I try to send it out and say, get it fast. I don't know who can get it. But being that, there's an under official here, and that being that it's a home game, you might get a little weather, I'm still going to lean to the Browns. I just think it's a bigger spot for them, and I think you might see a very strong run game from the Browns to control the clock in this situation. So I'm going to lean at the 3, but the fact that I have a good number, I'm just going to give it as a lean right now because the Bengals are a better team.
Yeah, and Burrow hasn't won against the Browns yet. So as good as he's been, the Browns have given him a lot of trouble. 3.5, I do agree that would probably be a good play. And even money line sitting +150, probably lean toward the Browns there, thinking this game means more to the Browns than it does to the Bengals. The Bengals, need to win this if they want to keep up with the Ravens, but the Browns, their season's over if they lose this game. So I agree with you. This is that circle the wagon spot. They lose here, the Browns are done. Huge game for them. So that would probably be my slight lean on that one. I still think maybe the over is a good look at 45 or lower.
Yeah, just because I say the officials and under official doesn't mean that I would bet the under. It's under official, possible weather. We'll see what happens. Right now, it doesn't look terrible, so we'll see. This is the time of year that you definitely want to look for your weather spots because they're going to pop up and they're going to sneak up. There's a lot of times where there's call for clear skies. Check that morning. You might get a completely different story and be able to get ahead of some lines, right, Kyle?
Absolutely, yeah. This is the time of the year that you might think that there's no weather games, and all at once the night before, the morning there is. And then also, like Kiev said, you got to be careful with betting those along ahead of time because that weather can change quite a bit. We're talking about a Monday night game. Here it is Friday afternoon, so I wouldn't rely too much on that. I just want to say one last thing too, Kiev. I had a guy that kept blowing up my DMs about Burrow was so overrated. He knows I'm a big Burrow fan. At the beginning of the year, he said Burrow's a below average NFL quarterback. He kept just pinging me. It was over and over. I'm like, oh my gosh. I haven't heard from the guy lately. So it seems like he's going to worry about something else. But just ridiculous stuff like that. People overreact to, he had that one really bad game against the Steelers, certainly in a bad spot. But I think Burrow is the type of guy that just about any franchise would be excited to start a team with.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that, people will be very happy with Burrow. Even after his slow start, he's number 5th in quarterback EPA plus completion percentage over expectation. So that's pretty good for a guy that even had that rough start. And now that his offensive line is gelling, I think that maybe the Bengals are the best team in this division. Even though I bet the Ravens, I bet them based upon schedule to win the division, not based upon being the strongest team. And I'll shout out to Andrew Naylor. And now it is time to give our dog over 3.5 points, most likely to win outright. So you're looking at at least +140, +150 on the money line. Kyle already knows where I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to get a little greedy here. And the reason that is because, I won last week. I hit East Carolina in a great spot, and our guest last week, Brady Cannon, also hit his Seattle at around the +190, +200. But I'm going to shock the world here, and I'm going to go with the Kentucky Wildcats against Tennessee. You know what? People, they get too infatuated with offense here, and they also kind of overlook the fact that Tennessee was in a couple close games that shouldn't have been close. That game against Pittsburgh, that shouldn't have been that close. Pittsburgh kind of blew the cover in that one. How is Florida scoring all those points in Tennessee and this being a 5-point game when it should have been a lot more. Well, it's because Tennessee does not have that great defense. You thought it might have gotten better against LSU. Maybe it did. But, Alabama still put up as many points as they needed in that amazing game that we saw. But not only that, they might still be celebrating that game, Kyle. They might still be hung over after that massive win there in Tennessee. I think that the Tennessee market was just a complete who cares. They're probably still full of themselves. While Kentucky licking their chops here, they could possibly control this game now that their running back, Chris Rodriguez, is healthy. And we've seen Will Levis run pretty well in the past as well. So if this happens, it only takes a couple hiccups for things to kind of turn around for Tennessee. This is a 12.5-point spread. The money line is no, it's down to 11.5 in most books. The money line's around plus 350, plus 340 still. I took it at plus 360. I think this could be a shocker if Kentucky does everything right. They're in a revenge spot from the shootout last year. Still a lot of the same players. I'm going to take this thing at plus 360.
I like it. I think a good thing about Kiev too is he doesn't just take this 3.5-point dog every time that's right at the very edge. He goes with some of these really big dogs, and if it happens to hit, then it sure can be a nice payout. And he's hit several of these in the past. I know that. So Kiev, I gotta say, I thought before coming into this that I was going to have the biggest underdog between the two of us because I was going pretty bold too. So if either one of us,
you're not going Sparty today.
No, I'm not. No, I think Michigan could roll in that game. I will say, I hope Tennessee has some goalposts back up. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, right. Maybe the new goalposts throw this game completely off.
Right. I'm going to take North Texas here. They're
right.
plus 10 against Western Kentucky. This is a North Texas team that you can get as high as plus 290 on the money line. North Texas has been really feisty. If you look at Western Kentucky too, I think they've been a bit fraudulent. Last week they won against UAB because UAB's starting quarterback got hurt. I mean, if he was there, they would have won. Zeno came in, did not play well at all. I thought that Western Kentucky is propped up by what probably wasn't really as good a win as people think. North Texas played UTSA really tough, really should have beaten them last week at UTSA. Now they go in, they're a 10-point dog in a game that should be very high scoring. I think 290, 285 is too high. So I'm going to take a chance here with the mean green, thinking that they have a shot in this one, and one where they're going to trade scores. I think North Texas's running game has enough success that this is a very close game.
The mean green machine. Wow, Kyle. Yeah, that's very tempting. It's sometimes you stick a little closer to 3.5 than I do in times, but you've done this before, and you've hit these before. You hit these at least as often as I do, So I'm excited for it. A nice little beer money, or even just make it like one beer money, like you're going to a bar ordering one beer. Parlay would probably pay in the 20-1 factor, I would say at least. I'll even put it in just to kind of see what this.
Put it in. I'm curious.
Yeah. Let's put it in and see what this 2-pick parlay 16-1. This would be 16-1. So let's do it. Let's put a couple bucks on this parlay and see if we can get lucky this week, Kyle.
Let's do it. And then if we happen to, nice, we got a comment there. He was looking at it as well. I wouldn't go $100 on this one, man. I'm not feeling that frisky about this one. I think if we put just a smaller amount on this and it happens to pay out, then you got extra money for like trick or treat or something like that. You got some extra candy money.
Next year's Halloween candy, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, maybe get you ready for Thanksgiving. It's not that far away, but I think this is worth a shot. We take some of these fun parlays, and to be serious, guys, we do. Bankroll management's important, and we're not going to put something big on something like this. So definitely play it safe here. Rather than $100 parlay, I'd much rather see, $10 or $20 parlays or something like that. So let's see if we can catch this one.
All right, let's see if we can do it. Shout out to TGC65 that gave us that number. Kyle, where could our viewers get your great information and plays?
So you can go to huntersportspicks.com, check out the free picks newsletter there. Also premium plays. It's about time for college basketball, Kiev. So I'm going to be putting up some of my college basketball stuff here by the beginning of next week. I'm starting to get questions about that. Also, college football has been going great, 30-10 in the last 40 college football plays. So you can get my college football information over there. I have 4 plays up so far for this weekend. Probably going to add at least one more here today. So not a huge card for me this weekend, but you can check out everything there at huntersportspicks.com. Lots of plays. You can get free picks as well. Follow me as well at Kyle Hunter Picks on Twitter.
All right. And at theoddsbreakers.com, we are also having packages come up for college basketball. Kyle's will be available. Mine will be available. I actually have a nice little March Madness record. Last year, we hit 62% during March Madness, and March Madness was tough on some people. So I was pretty happy with the way I was able to find some value. And but all year it's going to be studying college basketball. I already started our Big Ten preview. I plan on having a podcast next week on the Big Ten, showing things like effective field goal percentage, how these teams did ATS, showing new players coming in, old players going out, transfers, and things like that. I'm about halfway done with my spreadsheet now. I will be completed by next week. So check us out at theoddsbreakers.com. Everyone, thank you so much for listening to this show. Make sure you tweet Kyle. Make sure you tweet myself. Everyone enjoy Halloween, be safe, and go get some winners.
Thank you for watching Better Odds Sports Betting.